The train screeches to a halt at Westport Station, and for a moment, everything is noise. Rattling wheels, hissing brakes, murmuring passengers. Then it happens. A voice slices through the commotion. "Hey, you! Get your hands out of your pockets!" Every head turns. At the center of Car 4 stands a uniformed white police officer, red-faced, finger pointed like a weapon. He glares at a young black man near the back of the car, who's frozen mid-step, earbuds still dangling. The young man blinks, confused. "Me?" he asks, removing one earbud. His voice is calm, unsure. The cop takes 2 steps forward, heavy boots clanking on the metal floor. "You know damn well what I said. Hands out. Now!" The car goes silent. Even the baby crying in the next row quiets, like the whole train is holding its breath. The man, mid-20s, clean-cut, neatly dressed, slowly raises both hands. "I'm just going to work," he says. "Did I do something?" The officer doesn't answer. He keeps advancing, scanning the man's backpack slung over one shoulder. A woman across the aisle speaks up. "What's he doing wrong?" The cop doesn't look at her. Another voice, older this time, someone toward the front. "Yeah, we all just got on. He didn't do anything." Still no answer. The officer stops just inches from the man. "What's your name?" he demands. "Why?" the man asks. "Because I'm asking you, that's why." The doors stay open longer than usual. The station conductor peeks inside from the platform, eyebrows raised, sensing tension. The young man shifts slightly, but keeps his hands visible. "Is this about something specific?" he says carefully. "You fit the description," the cop snaps. "Of what?" That's when the cop falters, just for a second. His mouth opens, then closes again. There's no report, no announcement, no alert, just instinct. Behind them, a woman quietly starts recording on her phone. Another man stands up, middle-aged, wearing a badge clipped to his blazer. His voice is calm but firm. "Officer, I work internal affairs. What's the probable cause here?" The cop stiffens. "This doesn't concern you." "It does now." Gasps ripple through the car. The conductor steps in fully now, waving his arm. "Sir, unless there's an arrest in process, we need to keep moving." The officer glances around, suddenly aware of how many eyes are on him, how many phones. "I'm doing my job," he mutters. "Then do it by the book," the IA agent says, "because right now this looks like profiling." The young man finally lowers his hands, still steady. "I'd just like to sit down now." No one speaks. Then the conductor nods once. "Sir," he says to the officer, voice tight, "please step off the train." The cop's eyes widen. "What? You're disrupting service. Step off or I'll call transit command." For a full 5 seconds, nothing moves. Then the cop turns, slowly, and walks off. The train doors slide shut behind him with a loud hiss. The entire car exhales at once. But no one cheers. Because everyone knows. That was too close. And the train is still moving. But so is the truth. The train rattles forward, but the silence inside Car 4 lingers. The young man slowly returns to his seat, adjusting the strap of his backpack. No one speaks for a moment, like they're all waiting to see if the storm might circle back. Then a voice breaks the hush. "I got it," the woman from earlier says, holding up her phone. "All of it." He looks over, tired, wary, but grateful. "Thank you," he says simply. Her name is Alicia. Late 30s, no-nonsense energy. She scrolls through the video, reviewing the footage. "You mind if I post this?" The man pauses. His eyes drift toward the window, the reflection of his own face staring back at him. "I don't want to go viral," he says. "I just wanted to get to work." "And that's exactly why it needs to be posted," Alicia replies. Before he can answer, someone else leans in. An older gentleman with a kind face and trembling hands. "He shouted at you like you were a threat," the man says. "But all I saw was a man holding headphones." The young man nods once. "Quiet, thanks." Alicia taps post. Within minutes, the clip begins to spread. A commuter on the next car reposts it to a local Facebook group. Then someone shares it on Twitter. Cop harasses black man on commuter train, gets escorted off instead. And suddenly, it's everywhere. By the time the train reaches Midtown, 3 people recognize him. A teenager walks by his seat, whispering, "That was you, right? You handled that like a boss." The man gives a tired smile. At the next stop, he gets off. Backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds tucked away now. As he walks through the platform tunnel, his phone vibrates. Unknown number. He hesitates, then answers. "Is this Jordan?" "Yeah," Who's this? Mr. Lewis, I'm a reporter with Channel 4. I'd like to talk to you about what happened this morning. Jordan stops walking. How did you get this number? Someone on the train said you worked at Weller and Park's downtown. We called the front desk. They patched us through. I don't want to talk, Jordan says. I understand, the voice says. But the video's out there, and if you stay silent, people are going to start writing the story without you. Jordan hangs up. He stares at the floor for a moment, then heads for the escalator. But by the time he gets to street level, 3 people have already approached him. One says, "Thank you." Another just nods. A third? She films him. No ask, no permission, just hits record. He steps away quickly. Meanwhile, back on the train, Alicia watches the clip hit 70,000 views in under an hour. They're coming for this story, she mutters. She starts tagging accounts. Transit Watch, Rights NYC, even the city's public advocate. She adds one caption. This isn't an incident, it's a habit, and this time we hit record. By early afternoon, the Transit Authority releases a statement. We are aware of an incident involving an off-duty officer and a commuter. The matter is under internal review. No apology, no name, just distance. But it's not enough. Because the video's already on the evening news. And while Jordan tries to disappear into his office building downtown, his phone won't stop buzzing. Even his supervisor comes out of his office and says, "We saw what happened. You good?" Jordan nods. "Yeah, just surprised. Let us know if you need time off." Jordan doesn't answer. He just sits at his desk, stares at the monitor, and wonders how a simple commute turned into a national headline. Because sometimes justice doesn't begin with a courtroom, it begins with a camera and a train that didn't stay quiet. By the time the evening rush hour hits, Jordan's name is everywhere. He doesn't post, he doesn't speak, but still, there it is. Justice for Jordan Howard Train. B. Escorted. Not arrested. He stares at the hashtags on his phone, thumbs hovering but not typing. In the break room, coworkers glance his way, some nodding, others pretending they haven't seen the footage. But they all have. A woman from accounting approaches slowly. "I just wanted to say, I've ridden that train. I've seen stuff. What you did, it matters." He thanks her quietly, then heads back to his desk. But focus is impossible now. Across the city, the clip airs on every major station. A panel of commentators debates it live. One anchor says, "This could have gone very differently if not for the passengers who spoke up." Another counters, "We don't know the full story. The officer said he had reason." Then they roll the footage again. Each time it's the same freeze frame. Jordan standing, hands raised, brows furrowed. He looks like every man who's ever been mistaken for something dangerous while doing absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, Alicia, still on the train, sits with her phone open, watching the momentum build. "He's not asking for this," she tells a stranger across from her. "But maybe we are." By 6:15 p.m., the police department issues a second statement. "We are placing Officer Raymond Burr on temporary administrative leave, pending investigation." That's the first time the public hears the officer's name, and it sparks a new round of outrage. People dig up old videos, clips from years past, same face, same uniform, same tension. A thread emerges. Patterns, moments, unanswered complaints. Jordan sees it all unfolding, but from a distance, like it's happening to someone else. That night, his sister Mariah calls. "Jord, this is crazy. You okay?" "Yeah," he says softly. "Just off balance." "Mom saw it. She said you looked strong." He doesn't feel strong. He feels like an uninvited guest in a story that doesn't have a script. "I didn't do anything special," he says. "I just stood there." Mariah pauses. "Yeah, and sometimes that's the point. You stood there. You didn't run. And now everybody sees what that means." Meanwhile, outside Jordan's apartment, someone tapes a small sign to the stoop. "We believe you. We see you." He doesn't know who put it there, but he doesn't take it down. At the same time, protests start forming at the Transit Authority building. Not thousands of people, yet, but dozens. Organized, focused. They don't chant Jordan's name. They chant something else. Who protects the commuters? Who trains the enforcers? Who polices the police? News crews arrive. So do counter-protesters, though fewer. One man holds a sign that says, "Respect the badge." Another replies, "Respect the rights." Inside the Transit Authority boardroom, executives whisper behind closed doors. We can't afford this bad press. We need a scapegoat or a solution. Find out who that internal affairs guy was. In a quiet cafe across town, the IA agent from the train, Daniel Vega, watches the coverage, coffee in hand. He hasn't spoken publicly, but he knows they'll come looking soon. He pulls out his notepad, jots down a name, Jordan Mitchell, then a sentence beneath it. He stood still, so the truth couldn't. Because sometimes, history doesn't start with a speech. It starts with a single man standing still, while the world finally watches. The next morning, Jordan barely touches his breakfast. His phone is still buzzing. DMs, mentions, missed calls. He keeps it on silent, face down. Outside, someone has left flowers by the stoop beneath the handwritten sign. We believe you, we see you. He doesn't know what to feel. Upstairs, Mariah calls again. You should say something, she urges. They're building the whole thing around you now. I didn't ask for any of this, he says. You didn't have to. That's what makes it real. Across town, Internal Affairs Officer Daniel Vega prepares for a briefing. He's no stranger to high-pressure rooms, but this one's different. A full conference table, press liaisons, legal reps, and his captain, grim-faced, arms folded. They play the clip again. The train, the shout, the silence, the voice. This doesn't concern you. The captain nods toward Vega. You're sure you want to file a report? Yes. You understand what that means. Vega meets his gaze. Steady. It means I did my job, and I'm not letting that badge mean something else today. Later that afternoon, Jordan's name officially appears in Vega's misconduct report as a protected civilian witness. The document doesn't go public yet, but the department knows, and they don't like it. By evening, a pro-police blog posts an article. Officer Raymond Burr suspended after confrontation with suspect. Jordan stares at the headline, mouth tightening. Suspect? There was no crime, no threat, no charge. Mariah sees the article too. They're trying to spin it, she mutters. Make it look like you were the problem. He exhales slowly. So what happens if I say nothing? They win. Meanwhile, Daniel Vega sits in his car outside the precinct, parked in shadow. His phone rings. Unknown number. He answers. You don't know me, the voice says, but I saw what you did. I was there. I work in operations. Okay. They're looking for ways to discredit your statement. Watch your back. The line goes dead. Vega writes nothing down. Just keeps the name in his head. The tone. Back online, Alicia, still following the aftermath closely, posts a new thread. She breaks down the department's language, contrasts it with video facts, cites witness statements. The final tweet says, Jordan didn't go looking for attention. Attention found him because silence didn't work anymore. By the next day, public support swells again. Jordan's employer sends an internal memo. We stand with our team. Jordan Mitchell is a valued member of our firm. In small but powerful ways, the city shifts. A middle school class writes letters. A local artist paints a sketch of Jordan on the train. Hands up, calm, resilient. A cafe posts a chalkboard sign. We believe in accountability and breakfast. But inside the Transit Authority's legal department, trouble brews. They've received a notice, a formal request for the body cam footage worn by Officer Burr, even though he was off duty. The request is signed by Daniel Vega. And now they have to decide, honor it or bury it. Jordan, unaware of this, finally steps outside just before sunset. He walks to the mural wall downtown. A new panel has appeared. This one shows a man standing on a train. Not yelling, not running, just standing. Hands visible, eyes calm. With dozens of people around him, some recording, some just watching. Below it, this is what resistance looks like. Jordan stares at it motionless, because sometimes the loudest protest is a man who refuses to flinch. Daniel Vega steps into the precinct's internal review office and immediately senses it. Thick air, clipped voices, too many eyes pretending not to look. He places his report folder on the desk of Deputy Chief Larimore. Larimore doesn't open it. Vega, he says, voice low. You're sure you want to go forward with this? Yes, sir. You're accusing one of our own of racial profiling on public transit, off duty. I'm describing what I saw. On duty or not, the badge doesn't come off when the behavior follows. A tense silence stretches. Larimore finally opens the file. He doesn't nod, doesn't blink, just flips a few pages, then closes it. If this moves forward, there will be pushback. You'll need to be clean. I am. Then you better stay that way. Vega knows what that means. Meanwhile, Jordan walks down 52nd Street, hoodie up, hands in his pockets. The mural of himself on the train is still fresh on the wall, but now there are candles beneath it. He didn't light them. He doesn't know who did. A reporter waits at the corner. Jordan, just a few words? No comment. The public's with you. Don't you want to say something? He pauses. Looks up. There are people watching, again. Why is it always the person who didn't do anything that has to explain? The reporter lowers her mic. Jordan walks away. At home, Mariah sits with him in the kitchen. The news plays on low volume in the background. Another panel. Another voice debating his silence. He's got the country's attention, but if he stays silent too long, the story slips away. Mariah turns it off. You don't owe anyone a statement, she says. But if you want to say something, I've got a camera and I know how to hold it. Jordan doesn't answer right away. Instead, he asks, why does everyone want me to be a symbol? Because people are tired, she says, and you stayed standing. That meant something. That night, Vega receives an internal memo. His scheduled review hearing is delayed. No explanation. His patrol shift is reassigned. Back to nights, edge of the borough. It's clear. They're not disciplining him. They're isolating him. He doesn't flinch. He emails the oversight office instead. I'd like to testify publicly if needed. Meanwhile, Jordan scrolls through hundreds of messages. Some are kind, some are cruel. Some just say, what do we do now? He doesn't know how to answer that, but maybe it's not about having the answer. Maybe it's about not letting the question go dark. The next morning, Jordan walks into a quiet community center. Mariah waits near the back, camera ready. No crowd, no lights, just a chair and a plain white wall behind him. He sits, looks at the lens, and says, my name is Jordan Mitchell. I was on the train. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't resist. I just stood still, and the world saw more than it wanted to. I'm not a hero, but I know what fear looks like when it hides behind a badge. He pauses. I didn't plan to speak, but maybe it's time we all stop pretending quiet means safe. Mariah ends the recording. Want me to post it? Jordan nods. Let's let them hear it from me, just once. Because silence can protect you, until it doesn't. And the only thing louder than injustice is when the quiet finally speaks. The video goes live at 7:43 a.m., no dramatic music, no edits, no logo. Just Jordan, sitting still, speaking plainly into a lens. In the first 10 minutes, it gets 200 views. By lunchtime, it hits 40,000. By sunset, it's all over the city. I'm not a hero, but I know what fear looks like when it hides behind a badge. That line is clipped, quoted, turned into a headline. Some call it brave. Others call it performative. But no one ignores it. At his desk, Jordan watches it spread. Not on his own account, but through retweets, reposts, remixes. People put it over music, behind murals, inside video essays. He still hasn't said anything else. He doesn't need to. The world is speaking for him now. Meanwhile, Daniel Vega walks into the city oversight hearing. The room is packed. Cameras line the walls. Department heads sit on one side. Journalists scribble notes from the back row. He takes his seat, swears in, and begins reading his report. His voice doesn't shake. Officer Burr approached a civilian without cause, escalated without provocation, and was removed from public transit by both transit staff and myself. I filed this account under Code 144A, involving potential racial profiling by a licensed officer. A pause. The board chair asks, was the officer aware of your position at the time? He was. Did that alter his behavior? No. If anything, it worsened. Another pause. And why do you believe that is? Vega glances around the room, then meets the chair's gaze. Because power hates witnesses. There's silence. Not because no one believes him, but because everyone knows he's right. Outside the chamber, protesters gather, not shouting Jordan's name, but holding signs with a new phrase. Train 4 wasn't an incident, it was a warning. Local media picks up on the movement's tone shift. This isn't about one cop anymore. It's about the system that taught him he could shout without proof, accuse without evidence, intimidate without consequence. At the Transit Authority headquarters, executives scramble. We need a statement. No, an action. If we lose trust, we lose ridership. Someone suggests a public forum. Another recommends suspending Burr permanently. Someone else asks, what if we reach out to Jordan directly? There's hesitation, then reluctant nods. Across the city, Camille Brooks, the independent journalist who's been quietly documenting everything, finally publishes her exposé. The Weight of Standing Still: How Jordan Mitchell Exposed a System Without Raising His Voice. In the article, she interviews Alicia from the train, Mariah, even Vega, off the record. But Jordan declines to be interviewed. Still, his story anchors the piece. Sometimes the loudest truths don't arrive screaming, they arrive still, and force you to stop. Back at his apartment, Jordan opens the door to find a letter slid underneath. No return address. Inside, a handwritten note. You didn't flinch, neither will I. DV. He smiles faintly. Outside, the mural has grown. Someone added a second figure beside him. Another man, standing not with hands up, but with a clipboard in hand. A witness. Beneath it, truth stands with truth. Jordan walks to the stoop, looks down the block. Photographers linger across the street. A few neighbors wave. He doesn't speak. He just stands there, still. And somehow, the stillness feels louder than ever, because change doesn't always arrive marching. Sometimes it waits, then dares the world to catch up. Officer Raymond Burr sits in a narrow chair, hands clasped, tie slightly loose. Cameras glare under the fluorescence of the department's internal press room. It's the first time he speaks publicly since the train incident. A spokesperson steps forward. Officer Burr will now make a brief statement and will not be taking questions. Flashbulbs pop. Burr clears his throat. On the morning in question, I responded to a perceived threat on a public train. I acted in accordance with my training and the information available to me at the time. He pauses. If my actions caused any undue stress or discomfort to Mr. Mitchell, that was never my intention. There's a stillness in the room, not out of respect, but disbelief. Outside, the footage plays on a loop on news tickers. Jordan standing, calm, composed, silent. No threat, no escalation except Burr's. Camille Brooks watches the live stream from her apartment, fingers frozen on her keyboard. Discomfort? She whispers. He treated him like a suspect for breathing. She starts typing. Across the city, reactions erupt. Alicia tweets, discomfort is not a synonym for racial profiling. Mariah posts a short video. You can't apologize for something you still insist you were right to do. Even Daniel Vega, watching from the break room, mutters under his breath, that's not an apology, that's a dodge. By evening, a new mural appears. Same style, different tone. This one shows two images side by side. On the left, Burr standing tall, shouting. On the right, Jordan sitting in his locker, a sticky note waits. IA equals internal agitator. He pulls it off, crumples it, tosses it without comment. Later that morning, he sits with an external oversight panel, 3 civilians, 2 department officials, and 1 federal observer. All eyes are on him. He walks them through every second. Burr's entry, the body language, the lack of cause, the escalation, the refusal to de-escalate. He speaks without anger, just clarity. When he finishes, no one claps, no one nods, but no one challenges him either, because facts, when spoken without fear, don't leave room for argument. Across town, Camille Brooks refreshes her article dashboard. 1.4 million views, 27,000 shares, 93 republications. But what matters more is her inbox, dozens of emails from readers. This happened to my brother last year. My father was a transit cop. He warned me this would happen one day. I was on that train. Thank you for telling it right. She writes back to everyone. Meanwhile, the transit authority holds a closed-door session. One board member pushes for Burr's resignation. Another pushes back. If we throw him out now, we admit liability. But the walls are cracking. News outlets report Burr's past complaints. 3 filed, none pursued. The public is piecing together a pattern, and the pressure is mounting. At home, Mariah notices Jordan pacing for the first time in days. You good? She asks. Yeah, no, I don't know. What's going on? I got invited to speak at a community center panel next week. It's about policing and public space. You thinking about it? He shrugs. I didn't ask for this. She steps closer. Maybe that's what makes you right for it. He doesn't answer. But later that night, he opens a new document on his laptop. Just writes one line. I wasn't a threat, but I was treated like one. He stares at it for a long time. Then writes a second line. What if no one else had been there? Outside, it's raining. The mural's colors drip slightly, streaks running down Jordan's painted face, but someone has placed a clear plastic sheet over it, taped carefully, edge to edge. Someone's protecting it. Back at the precinct, Vega receives a message on the secure internal server. No name, just a line. We know you're talking, clock's ticking. He closes the message, heart steady, and opens another window. He starts drafting a formal request for Burr's personnel file to be reviewed by the Federal Observer. He types quickly, fingers tight but certain, because fear whispers. But truth writes its name in ink. Saturday morning, the sky hangs low and gray. Rain taps lightly on the window of the community center as folding chairs are arranged in tight rows. Jordan stands backstage, palms sweating, heart louder than the crowd's murmur. He peeks through the curtain. The room isn't massive, but every seat is taken. Some people wear shirts with the mural printed on them. Others hold signs that read, Train 4 changed me. Seen, heard, believed. Mariah straightens his collar. Still time to back out, she teases gently. Nah, Jordan says, voice quieter than usual. I need this. Out front, the moderator, an activist named Reese, introduces the panel. When Jordan's name is spoken, a ripple of applause rises, not explosive, but warm, grounded. He walks out, the weight of 100 eyes on him. No podium, just a chair and a microphone. He sits, breathes, then speaks. I didn't ask to be the center of anything. I was just trying to get to work. And someone decided I looked like a problem. The room is silent. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't move wrong. I just existed. And somehow that was threatening enough to get shouted at, questioned, surrounded. He scans the audience. Faces nod. A few wipe their eyes. I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. But maybe I can be the one who didn't pretend it didn't happen. Reese leans forward. And what do you want people to take from all this? Jordan pauses. That watching matters. That saying something matters. That silence is a choice, but so is standing still. Applause builds, not wild, but fierce. Back at the precinct, Daniel Vega watches the livestream on his work monitor with headphones in. His inbox chimes. Another anonymous message. We're not done with you. He doesn't even flinch now. Instead, he finalizes his formal appeal to request a third-party audit of Burr's disciplinary history, something rarely granted. He sends it, then deletes the threat. Outside the community center, journalists wait for Jordan. Microphones extend the second he steps through the doors. Jordan, how do you feel after that speech? What do you say to critics calling this a social media stunt? Will you testify if Burr's case goes to trial? Jordan doesn't rush. He turns to the cameras. I said what I needed to say. And I'll keep saying it, just not where it can be edited into noise. Then he walks. Later that evening, Camille Brooks publishes a follow-up story titled, He Stood Still, Then He Spoke. Now what do we do? In it, she includes quotes from Jordan's panel, reactions from the room, and notes from an anonymous source inside the transit authority who confirms, there's panic. They know the cover doesn't hold much longer. Elsewhere, murals start changing. Not just Jordan now, but new faces too. The mural on 10th Street shows a collage of people. The woman who recorded the video, the IA agent with a badge but no backup, the girl holding a sign at the forum that reads, My voice has value, each figure in motion, each painted mid-stand, not frozen, alive. At midnight, Jordan checks his phone one last time. There's a message from an unknown number. You stood? We saw. We'll keep standing. No name, but he doesn't need one. He sets the phone down, stares out the window. Raindrops streak the glass, but the city doesn't sleep. It pulses, watches, waits. Because when the silence breaks, the echo becomes movement, and movement remembers everything. It's Monday morning when the email lands in Jordan's inbox. Subject line, Invitation, Civil Justice Roundtable, Washington, D.C. He clicks. Inside, a formal letter. Polished language, prominent names. He's been invited to speak alongside civil rights leaders, academics, and a few high-ranking public officials about racial equity in public infrastructure. Jordan stares at the screen for nearly a minute. He scrolls back to the top, then down again. At the bottom, there's a note from one of the coordinators. We understand if this feels overwhelming. You've become a symbol, but you're also still a man. We'd be honored to have you. He closes the laptop without answering. Across town, Daniel Vega arrives at the precinct to find his locker wide open. His belongings are untouched, but his badge, normally clipped to the inner pocket of his jacket, is lying on the bench like a threat. He picks it up quietly. Later at his desk, his captain pulls him aside. "There's been an anonymous complaint," the captain says. "Someone's claiming you leaked internal files to the press." Vega's jaw tightens. "I didn't leak anything." "Still, protocol says we pull your access for the time being, pending review." "That's convenient." "It's procedure." Vega doesn't argue. He just nods and walks back to his desk. Inside, he starts taking notes the old-fashioned way, pen and paper. Because systems don't always erase you. Sometimes they just try to slow you down. Meanwhile, Mariah walks into the living room holding a printed copy of the roundtable email. "So, DC? How did you—" Jordan begins. "It came to the house too. You're on some mailing list now." She hands it to him. "Are you gonna go?" He shrugs. "Do I belong in a room like that?" "Does anyone?" she says. "That's how rooms change." He sets the letter down beside the couch. No answer yet. Back online, Camille publishes a new article. This one's shorter, more like a field note. The more Jordan speaks, the more he draws lines around the story, shows us where it starts, but more importantly, where it hasn't ended. She ends with a question. What if the next person isn't as calm? What if there's no phone recording? What if standing still isn't enough next time? The post goes viral. Again. At the Transit Authority headquarters, executives meet behind closed doors. The pressure is mounting. Petitions are circulating. Community groups are planning a citywide walkout. 1 hour without transit. Someone proposes reinstating Burr quietly. Let him come back, off the radar, no press. That's a PR disaster waiting to happen. Then settle with Jordan and bury the case. He's not asking for money, then offer it before he does. None of them notice that one staffer is recording everything, because people are watching from the inside now. At his apartment, Jordan opens his laptop again, rereads the DC invite. He doesn't feel ready, but he doesn't feel like ignoring it either. He clicks reply, types, "Thank you, I'm considering it, we'll follow up soon." Then he closes the lid. No commitment, but no retreat either. Meanwhile, Vega drops a sealed envelope into a mailbox near his neighborhood diner. Inside, copies of Burr's complaint history, legally obtained, quietly printed. He addresses it to the Federal Oversight Committee, because even when doors close, windows remain. That evening, someone paints a new section onto the mural wall downtown. This one shows a chair at a long table, empty but lit. Behind it, shadows of people waiting, listening, expecting. Underneath, "When you're invited to the table, bring truth with you." Jordan walks past it on his way home. He stops, looks at the chair, then at his reflection in the darkened window of a nearby store. Still him. Same face, same questions. But maybe, just maybe, a different kind of silence now. Because once you stand, people don't just watch. They wait to follow. Wednesday morning, a crowd forms outside City Hall. It starts with a few dozen, then hundreds, then more. Handwritten signs wave in the breeze. "We ride, we matter." Train 4 was just the start. Justice isn't a transfer stop. The protest isn't loud. No sirens, no shouting, just people, standing, walking, holding space. At the front, Alicia leads a silent march. She wears the same hoodie she had on during the train ride. The phone she used to film still rests in her back pocket, screen cracked but working. She walks with purpose, eyes steady. Behind her, students, nurses, parents with strollers, musicians, baristas, even off-duty bus drivers, all moving through the streets like a current. Jordan isn't among them, not yet. He watches from the TV in his apartment, eyes locked on the screen as the drone camera pulls back to reveal the full scale of it. Mariah walks in holding 2 coffees. "It's happening," she says softly. "I see it. They keep asking if you'll show up." Jordan sips his drink. "I don't know if that's what they need." "It's not about what they need," she says. "It's about what you believe is worth showing up for." Across town, Daniel Vega parks 3 blocks from the precinct. He stopped taking the same route twice. Stops checking his mirrors so obviously, but his instincts still hum with warning. Inside, the tension thickens. His badge access is restricted. His name's been pulled from case schedules. Colleagues avoid eye contact. At lunch, he sits alone, until someone joins him. A young officer, fresh from the academy, Trey shaking in his hands. Just wanted to say, I saw the hearing. I read your report. Vega looks up. And? It made sense. I've seen stuff. Not like that, but close. Then write it down, Vega says. Document everything. Memory fades, but Piper doesn't. The young officer nods quickly and leaves. Vega knows the moment will get back to leadership, but he doesn't care. Because truth doesn't spread in speeches. It spreads in quiet decisions, like where you choose to sit. Meanwhile, the Transit Authority issues another press release. We are listening to public concerns and reviewing our protocols. But no one's listening anymore, because the public has stopped waiting. They're walking. Camille Brooks documents the protest in real time. Her feed becomes a living chronicle. Photos, quotes, mini interviews. She captures a 10-year-old boy holding a sign that says, "My dad told me to keep my head down, I'm done with that." She captions it, "Next generation's not here to whisper." Back in Jordan's apartment, another email pings. This one isn't from DC, it's from a group of train conductors and transit workers organizing a solidarity ride, a citywide slow roll on all lines during rush hour. "We want to honor your story, Jordan, but only if you're willing. You don't have to speak, just ride with us. Be seen." He stares at the message for a long moment, then he writes back, "Tell me where to be." That evening, a soft drizzle begins to fall as people continue to march. Someone updates the mural again, this time with real gold paint in the lines of the figures. The chair at the table is no longer empty. Now there's a silhouette sitting in it, hands resting calmly, head turned toward the light. Underneath, someone has written, "He didn't go to lead. He went because walking away wasn't an option." Jordan pulls his hood up, pockets his phone, and heads toward the station. He doesn't carry a sign. He doesn't say a word. He just steps onto train 4 as the doors slide open. And for the first time since that day, he rides without flinching. Because when the people move, it's not about where they're going. It's about what they refuse to leave behind. The next morning, the city feels different. Trains move slower. Not from malfunction, but from intention. Conductors coast at half speed, eyes locked forward, radios buzzing with soft affirmations. Line 2, showing solidarity. Line 6, coasting for justice. Inside each car, passengers notice. Some frown, some smile. Many already know. Jordan sits near the window of train 4 again. No music, no hoodie, just him. Present. People recognize him, but no one bothers him. A woman across the aisle nods once. That's all. At Midtown Central, cameras wait outside the platform. Camille Brooks is among them. She's not here to ask questions, just observe, document, archive. She notes the way riders enter quietly, how even late passengers hesitate to run. Everyone slows down. Meanwhile, the mayor's office scrambles. They didn't expect this kind of coordinated action. How did they organize this without central leadership? There's no list, no face, just momentum. The press secretary flips through social media overwhelmed. Hashtags flood the city feed. # slow, for justice, #ride with Jordan, #train for truth. No violence, no vandalism, just unified stillness. And that terrifies power more than chaos ever could. At the Transit Authority, executives gather for an emergency session. Someone suggests a crackdown. Issue citations, call it a disruption of critical infrastructure. Someone else warns, that'll make it worse. We go after commuters, we lose the whole narrative. Silence falls. Because no one owns the narrative anymore. That afternoon, Jordan exits train 4 at Eastview Station. Waiting for him, a group of transit workers. One steps forward, a woman in her 50s with calloused hands and steel in her voice. "Thank you for riding," she says. "You gave us a reason to slow down." He nods. "You gave me a reason to stand up." Across town, Daniel Vega exits the precinct just before dusk. He walks toward his car, same routine. But tonight, something's off. No street noise, no passing officers, just footsteps. Behind him, he turns. 2 men in plain clothes. No badges, no words, just fists. The first blow hits his ribs. The second clips his jaw. He drops, one hand breaking his fall. They don't say a word, just vanish as quickly as they came. Vega lies there, chest heaving. A woman walking her dog spots him, gasps, kneels. "Call 911, Vega whispers. "I'm already dialing." At the hospital, he refuses painkillers until he finishes his report. Broken ribs, swollen cheek, minor concussion. He writes every detail, then signs it. Because they thought pain would silence him, they forgot who he is. Later, Camille receives an anonymous tip. IA officer assaulted. Likely internal retaliation. Cover-up imminent. She verifies it in under an hour. Publishes it in 3. Headline, he stood for truth, now he's bleeding for it. The story explodes. News vans swarm the hospital. The city's police chief is forced to release a statement. We condemn all violence, especially against our own. An investigation is underway, but no one believes it, because no one said it, until the media forced their hand. At home, Jordan reads the article in silence. His fists clench, then relax. He picks up his phone and texts Mariah. I want to visit Vega. She replies instantly. Already on the way, meet you there. As he steps out the door, he sees a new note taped to the front gate. It reads, Systems protect systems, but people protect people. He doesn't know who left it, but he knows they're right. Because once the movement slows the machine starts to panic, and then the cracks become impossible to hide. The hospital lobby smells like antiseptic and old coffee. Jordan steps through the sliding doors, hands deep in his coat pockets, Mariah just behind him. Neither speaks as they ride the elevator to the 3rd floor. Outside room 312, a nurse stands guard. She recognizes Jordan immediately. He asked for privacy, she says. He also asked for me, Jordan replies. She hesitates, then steps aside. Inside, Daniel Vega lies in bed, bandaged and bruised. His left eye is swollen shut. One arm rests in a sling. But when he sees Jordan, he smirks. Took you long enough, Vega says, voice raspy. Jordan pulls up a chair. Wasn't sure you'd want visitors. Right now, I'll take allies. They sit in silence for a moment. No TV, no machines beeping, just 2 men who didn't plan for any of this. I read your report, Jordan says finally. The official one, the way you broke it down. No one could ignore it. Some still tried, Vega mutters. You didn't deserve this. Neither did you, but here we are. They share a look, brief but loaded with understanding. Mariah steps inside, placing a small paper bag on Vega's bedside table. Chicken soup, she says. Homemade, no hospital sludge. Vega chuckles softly. I like her. Most people do, Jordan says. After a few minutes, Vega leans forward slightly. They think pain shuts us up, he says, but pain sharpens things, makes the truth cleaner. You planning to keep pushing? Jordan asks. I already sent another file. Burr's disciplinary actions, internal reviews, ignored complaints. It's all in the hands of the federal oversight now. Jordan exhales slowly. You're brave. You're visible, Vega replies. Bravery looks different on each of us. Outside, protesters have started gathering near the hospital entrance, not with signs this time, but candles. Photos of Vega printed on placards, slogans like, Protect the Protectors, Truth is not a crime. Silence got him hurt, we won't repeat it. Camille is already there, camera in hand, moving quietly among them. She doesn't ask questions tonight, she listens. Back in the room, Jordan checks his phone. A text just came through, from Alicia. City Council wants to meet, emergency session. You and Vega should be there. Jordan shows it to Vega. You in? Give me a coat, Vega says. I'll roll in with the IV pole if I have to. Jordan smiles. That night, they leave the hospital together. One limping, one watching every step. Outside, the candlelight flickers against their faces. The crowd parts gently, not like fans, like guardians. They don't cheer. They nod. They make way. Mariah walks behind them, hands steady on Vega's back. Someone hands Jordan a microphone. He doesn't speak right away. Then, he stood for me when no one else did. Now we stand for him. That's it. No speech, no slogan, just truth. The crowd answers not with noise, but with stillness. Hundreds of people, heads high, unmoving. Inside City Hall, officials scramble. The pressure is boiling. The Federal Oversight Committee confirms receipt of Vega's documents. News outlets leak snippets, old video clips, internal memos. The paper trail no one wanted aired. By midnight, the mayor calls an emergency meeting. Too late. The city already knows. And tomorrow, everyone will be watching. Because when enough people stand still long enough, the walls that held them in start to crack from the weight. City Hall never feels more alive than when it's cornered. Flashing cameras, stern faces, restless aides tapping devices. It's chaos wrapped in control. Jordan steps inside first. Clean shirt, calm face. Not fearless, but steady. Behind him, Vega walks slowly with a cane, face still bruised but posture unbroken. Mariah follows silently, holding a folder full of evidence, not for drama but for clarity. In the chamber, the city council president adjusts his tie and leans into the mic. "We welcome Mr. Mitchell and Officer Vega to this emergency session. Let the record show their appearance is voluntary and appreciated." Jordan nods once. Vega doesn't flinch. The chamber is full. Observers, press, civic reps. Even Burr's name hangs in the air. Unspoken, but present. A council member begins. "Mr. Mitchell, we've all seen the video. We've read the coverage. What do you want from this city?" Jordan looks at her directly. "I want acknowledgement, not just of what happened to me, but of why it keeps happening." Another member leans in. "And what would that acknowledgement look like?" "Accountability, oversight, and training that teaches officers the cost of fear disguised as procedure." Soft murmurs ripple through the gallery. Vega clears his throat. "If I may add, accountability doesn't start with punishment. It starts with transparency." He holds up a printed report. "This is Officer Burr's internal file. 3 unresolved complaints, 2 flagged interactions, 1 suspension never enforced. All buried." The council president raises an eyebrow. "And how did you come by this document?" "Legally, as part of my role in internal affairs, but it was never reviewed because he wasn't seen as a liability, just a symptom." The chamber falls silent. Then a third council member speaks, softer than the others. "Officer Vega, you were assaulted days ago. Do you believe it was connected to this case?" Vega doesn't hesitate. "I don't believe in coincidence when power feels exposed." Gasps this time. From the press, not the politicians. The council president straightens his stack of papers, then sighs. "In light of these revelations, we are prepared to vote on the following: immediate public release of the Burr file, independent audit of transit police, conduct records, formation of a civilian oversight board, commitment to retraining protocols with direct community input." He pauses. "We will not vote today, but we will not stall either. Public trust demands action." Outside the building, the crowd watches everything live from a jumbotron. No shouting, no clapping, just focused silence. Mariah places her hand on Jordan's shoulder as they leave the chamber. "You did what most people wouldn't dare." He shakes his head. "I did what I couldn't avoid." Camille meets them at the steps, notepad in hand. "One question," she says. "What happens if they delay again?" Jordan glances at Vega, then says, "Then they prove everything we've said was true." By sundown, Camille's article is already up. Daylight in the chamber, when the city ran out of excuses. It spreads faster than anything before. That evening, local channels break in with a special bulletin. City Council under pressure to act swiftly after explosive session. Meanwhile, Burr's name trends online. Not for anything he says, but because people finally see what was hidden. Jordan sits by the window that night, phone on silent. He watches the people outside. They're still gathering, still standing. But something's changed. They're not just waiting for justice anymore. They're preparing to carry it forward themselves. Because once the doors open, the question isn't who walks through. It's who refuses to let them close again. Thursday morning, the city council chamber reopens. This time, not with hesitation, but with purpose. Civic leaders arrive early, escorted by aides holding binders and black coffee. The public seats fill within minutes. Media outlets stream live. Camille Brooks stands beside a local anchor, silently taking notes. Jordan watches from the second row. No podium this time. No invitation to speak. Today he listens. Vega enters a few minutes later, cane in one hand, manila folder in the other. He nods toward Jordan. They don't need words anymore. At exactly 9 o'clock a.m., the council president speaks into the mic. After review of testimony, documentation, and the overwhelming response from this community, this council is prepared to vote. A rustle spreads through the room. He begins to read the resolution. Item 1, full public release of Officer Burr's disciplinary record. Item 2, creation of an independent civilian oversight board with investigative authority. Item 3, mandatory retraining for all transit law enforcement incorporating community-led input. Item 4. A formal apology delivered by the Transit Authority to Mr. Jordan Mitchell, Officer Daniel Vega, and the broader community. A pause. The room holds its breath. All in favor? Hands rise, one by one. Unanimous. Applause doesn't explode, but it rises, steady and honest. Some stand. Jordan doesn't move, but Mariah grips his arm tightly. They actually did it, she whispers. Across the city, subway speakers crackle to life. This is an announcement from the Transit Authority. We acknowledge the failures that led to recent events and commit to restoring your trust. You deserve dignity. You deserve safety. You deserve change. It plays in every train car, every station platform. Not everyone listens, but many stop what they're doing just long enough to hear. Meanwhile, Officer Raymond Burr sits in a quiet room across town. A single camera faces him. He adjusts his collar. No press, no crowd. Just a live stream, and a countdown clock in the corner. At noon, it begins. This is Officer Raymond Burr, he says. In light of recent findings and public concern, I have agreed to make this statement. His voice is flat, rehearsed. On the date in question, I made decisions based on instinct and perception. I now understand those instincts were biased. I regret the harm caused. He pauses, looks away for a moment. Then, I have resigned from the Transit Police Department, effective immediately. The video ends without music or fade out. Just static. Within minutes, reactions pour in. Some call it closure. Others say it's not enough. Camille posts a single sentence. Accountability is not resignation, it's recognition. Jordan reads it and doesn't disagree. That night, the mural wall glows under new floodlights. The crowd is larger now. Families, activists, students, even former officers. Candles flicker along the sidewalk. Someone's painted a new layer. Jordan's silhouette now faces forward. Vega stands beside him. And behind them, dozens more. No names, just outlines. The caption reads, "This city spoke, and this time it listened." Jordan approaches slowly, stops just short of the candlelight. Someone hands him a mic. He looks at it, then at the crowd and says, "I didn't want to be heard because something bad happened. I wanted to be heard so it doesn't keep happening." The crowd answers not with noise, but with a wave of raised hands, a sea of stillness. Vega watches from a bench nearby. Beside him, Mariah murmurs, "So what now?" Vega nods toward the wall. "Now we keep it from fading, because the system didn't fix itself." The people fix their gaze and refuse to look away. A week later, the first meeting of the Civilian Oversight Board convenes inside a downtown library, not a courtroom. Foldable tables, coffee and paper cups, no suits, just citizens. 12 seats, 7 community members, 3 legal advisors, 1 transit representative, and Jordan Mitchell. He didn't ask to be on the board, but they asked him, twice. And this time, he said yes. Vega sits 2 chairs down, his cane resting against the leg of the table. Still healing, but present. At the head, a facilitator named Lena begins the session. This board doesn't exist to punish individuals. It exists to prevent silence. We're not here to chase ghosts. We're here to keep the lights on. She clicks the projector. Slide 1. Use of force data over 5 years. Slide 2. Complaint dismissal timelines. Slide 3. Survey of public trust before and after Jordan's incident. Everyone watches closely. Nobody interrupts. After the presentation, Lena opens the floor. Jordan raises his hand. "If the community doesn't know this board exists, it won't matter." She nods. "So how do we change that?" He leans forward. "Make the reports public, not hidden in PDF folders. Put them in barbershops, cafes, schools, translate them. Let people talk about what they can see." Vega speaks next. "And track patterns, not just cases. If 5 people describe the same interaction, that's a warning sign, even without a video." Heads nod around the table. Outside, the world keeps moving, but inside this room, policy bends under the weight of lived experience. By the end of the meeting, they draft their first resolution. All misconduct investigations must begin within 10 days of filing and be made publicly visible upon initiation. Small, technical, but real. Later, Jordan walks outside into the evening air. Mariah waits by a bench, sketchbook in her lap. "How'd it go?" she asks. "Slow," Jordan replies. "But different." Different's a start. He sits beside her. They watch the sunset burn across the windows of downtown. On the other side of the city, Vega visits a local high school. Not to lecture, but to listen. The gymnasium buzzes with noise. Students shout questions. Some hostile, some curious. All honest. A boy with a buzz cut stands and asks, "Why didn't more officers speak up sooner?" Vega answers plainly, "Because the system doesn't reward truth. It protects itself first." Another student, arms crossed, follows up, "So why didn't you stay quiet?" "Because silence isn't neutral," he says. "It's consent dressed like patience." The room goes still. Then scattered applause. Not for performance, for clarity. That night, Camille publishes an article titled, "What Reform Really Looks Like: Paper, Patience, and People Who Show Up." She doesn't quote Jordan this time. She quotes a woman from the board who said, "You can't rebuild trust with PowerPoints. You rebuild it with presence." At the mural wall, someone's added a new figure. A seated woman, pen in hand, head bent in focus. No glow, no fists, just quiet commitment. Below her, paper doesn't shake, it holds. Jordan walks past it the next morning on his way to the second board session. This time he carries a folder. Not full of evidence, but questions. And that might be more important now, because protest sparks the fire, but policy keeps it lit. And someone has to hold the flame steady. It's been 3 weeks since the council vote. The mural is still there. The board still meets. The new policies are in effect. On paper, but the protests have thinned. The headlines have shifted. And the city slowly starts looking away. At a downtown cafe, Jordan scrolls through his feed. Local news now leads with budget debates, weather alerts, celebrity scandals. Train 4 barely makes the 5th headline anymore. He sets the phone down and exhales. Across the table, Mariah sips her tea. "It's not that they stopped caring," she says. "It's that they moved on." Jordan nods. That's the part no one warns you about, that the silence comes after the noise. Later that day, at the Oversight Board's 4th meeting, only 8 members show up. 3 empty chairs, 2 unread reports. 1 community rep calls in late, distracted. Jordan notices. So does Vega. During a break, Jordan approaches him by the water dispenser. "You see it, right?" Jordan asks. "They're slipping." Vega nods slowly. "That's the system's oldest trick. Wait until you're tired, then bury you in paper." "So what do we do?" Vega thinks for a beat. Remind them why it started. The next morning, Jordan sends a message to Camille. "Can we talk? I have an idea." They meet at a small podcast studio Camille uses occasionally. She hits record. No intro music, no sponsors, just, "Today I'm joined by Jordan Mitchell, and we're not talking about the past. We're talking about what happens after." Jordan leans into the mic. "I didn't want to speak again. I really didn't. But I realized the moment we all got what we asked for, we stopped asking for more, and that's not how change survives." He outlines what the board has done, what's working, what's not. He reads from one of the reports, quietly, steadily. Camille posts that the full episode uncut. It trends within hours. Clips go viral. Jordan, voice clear, eyes tired but focused. Accountability isn't a one-time vote. It's a muscle. You stop using it, you lose it. New momentum forms. Schools request to host Jordan for civic talks. A documentary crew asks to follow the board's progress. Local transit stations begin posting QR codes that link directly to public reports. Vega, inspired, pens an op-ed. "I joined internal affairs to clean a wound. I didn't realize it was still bleeding. This board isn't the bandage, it's the beginning of healing." He doesn't sign it as Officer Vega. He signs it, "Daniel Civilian." Camille reposts the article with a new mural photo. The mural now includes a small detail in the corner. A child holding a clipboard. Watching. Below it, the future takes notes. At the board's next session, all 12 members show up. 2 new volunteers ask to sit in. Jordan shares a proposal. "Let's hold our next meeting at a public school. Let kids see what this looks like in real time." Unanimous approval. That night, Jordan walks past the mural, phone in hand. This time, he doesn't stop to look at it. He smiles, keeps walking. Because the work isn't in the wall, it's in the steps after. And steps don't need applause, just direction. The school gym smells like old wood and fresh paint. Fold-out chairs fill the floor. Students cluster in small groups, some in uniform, others with backpacks still on. At the front, a folding table bears a handwritten sign, Civilian Oversight Board, open session. Jordan stands at the edge of the stage. He adjusts the mic, eyes scanning the room. Vega sits beside him, flipping through notes. The bruise on his cheek has faded, but his gaze is sharp. The principal clears her throat. Students, please welcome our city's civilian board. They're not here to lecture. They're here to listen. Polite applause, muted. Jordan takes the mic. We're not here to tell you what happened. We're here to ask you what shouldn't happen again. He steps back. A girl in the second row raises her hand. You helped change the rules, she says, but how do you know people are actually following them? Jordan blinks, then smiles slightly. That's the real question. Vega adds, we track compliance reports, we audit cases, but we also depend on voices like yours. If something feels wrong, say it. Paper protects nothing without people behind it. Another student stands, a boy in a hoodie and glasses. What about the cops who didn't stop Burr that day? The ones who looked away? Are they still on the force? Silence. Vega takes a slow breath. Yes, some are. And that's why this board exists. So next time, looking away has a cost. A ripple goes through the students. Camille, recording from the side, captures every word. Mariah sketches quietly from the back, capturing the room, not the speakers. Suddenly, a student in the front row speaks up without raising a hand. You all say justice is happening, but I have cousins who've been stopped this month for no reason. So what's really changed? The room freezes. Jordan doesn't flinch. You're right to ask that. The truth is, changing rules doesn't erase habits, but we've stopped pretending the habits don't exist. The student folds his arms. Feels like talk. Then help turn it into action, Jordan says. Join the youth committee. File reports. Speak at council. Don't wait until it's you on the train. The student stares for a beat, then nods. Once. At the end of the session, students crowd the board members with more questions, ideas, challenges. Camille interviews 3 teens who've started a campaign to monitor school-based security. We're tired of being statistics, one girl says, so we're collecting our own. That night, Camille posts a photo of the gym session. Caption, they don't want symbols, they want systems that answer. It spreads like fire. Within 24 hours, 5 new youth oversight groups form across the city. 2 schools request to host future board sessions. The mayor's office publicly commits to expanding youth representation in policy councils. But not everyone celebrates. A city council member publishes an op-ed. We must be careful not to let reactionary sentiment weaken law enforcement morale. Change is needed, but not if it undermines safety. Jordan reads it, eyes narrowing. Vega texts him a single line. Pushback means we're hitting something real. Jordan replies, then we keep going. The next board meeting is packed. 3 student reps sit in. One takes notes, another streams live. The third raises her hand before every comment. Jordan chairs the meeting. At the end, he looks up and says, they're watching. Not just the ones in charge, the ones coming next. And that's the weight we carry now. Because real change isn't measured in moments. It's measured in who shows up when the moment has passed, and what they ask you when they get there. It starts with a leak. An anonymous file surfaces on a fringe news blog. The headline reads, Oversight or Overreach. Internal memo reveals tensions between police union and civilian board. Camille reads it before dawn, eyes scanning faster than her brain can process. The document claims the police union has submitted a proposal to freeze cooperation with the oversight board until structural bias and civilian interference are reviewed. It's not official policy. Not yet. But it's loud. By noon, major networks pick it up. A morning radio host asks, have we gone too far trying to fix policing? What about officers afraid to do their jobs? The shift is sudden, sharper than expected. Vega storms into the board office with a printed copy of the memo. They're baiting us, he says. They want us to react like we're angry, so they can say, see, they're political, not practical. Jordan leans back in his chair, arms crossed. Then we don't give them what they want. We give them clarity. The board holds a press conference that afternoon. Jordan speaks first. Transparency is not an attack. Asking questions is not interference. If accountability weakens trust, maybe that trust wasn't real to begin with. Reporters scribble, cameras flash, but the backlash only grows. That evening, protesters from a local pro-police group gather outside City Hall. Blue flags, loudspeakers, chants of, support those who serve. A familiar tension thickens the air. Camille arrives to cover it, wearing no press badge, just a camera and a notebook. Someone bumps her hard. "Media lies are the problem," a man yells. She steps back, breath calm, pen steady. "This is where the story widens," she whispers into her voice recorder. "When truth is seen as threat, narrative becomes the battlefield." Meanwhile, Jordan receives a message from a former board advisor. "They're coming for you next, not physically, strategically. Be ready." The next morning, the mayor's office calls a closed meeting. Only 2 people are invited from the board, Jordan and Vega. Inside, the room is tense. A deputy mayor clears his throat. "We appreciate your work, truly, but we also can't afford to lose the cooperation of an entire department. Would the board consider pausing until things settle?" Jordan stares at him, unblinking. "You don't pause integrity." Vega adds, "If a system breaks the moment it's watched, the system was never stable." The room goes quiet. The meeting ends early. Outside, Jordan stands under gray sky, rain threatening. Mariah waits by the car. "Well?" she asks. "They want calm," he says, "but not peace, just quiet." She nods. "Then maybe it's time to get loud again." That night, Camille publishes a full exposé. Title: The Cost of Oversight, Why Systems Prefer Silence. It includes anonymous quotes from city staff, leaked emails, and public polling that shows 72% of residents still support the board. But support doesn't always equal safety. 2 days later, Jordan finds a note taped to his door. "Stay in your lane, South Beach, before we put you in one." No signature, no stamp, just threat, plain and cold. He shows it to Vega. Vega doesn't flinch. "That means it's working," he says. "They're scared." Jordan slides the paper into a folder, adds it to the collection. Not to save it, to remember it. Because when power feels cornered, it doesn't fight back with policy. It fights with fear. The auditorium buzzes softly before the lights dim. It's the city's annual civic forum, usually dry, mostly symbolic. But tonight, every seat is filled. Civic leaders, journalists, students, officers, survivors, skeptics, supporters. On stage, a single podium. No decorations, no banners, just a mic. And Jordan Mitchell. He steps up slowly, no paper in hand, no screen behind him, just breath and memory. "They asked me to come speak about community healing, but I didn't come to soothe. I came to say something." The crowd leans in. 3 months ago, I stood still on a train, and the world turned me into something I didn't ask to be. A symbol, a headline, a mural. He pauses. "But what I became doesn't matter. What matters is what we all did with it. We made a board, we wrote rules, and we looked each other in the eye." Murmurs ripple through the audience, soft but steady. Vega watches from the front row, one hand on his cane, the other holding a folded note Jordan gave him earlier. "This isn't my ending. It's everyone's beginning." Mariah sketches from the aisle. Not Jordan, but the crowd. She's drawing the listeners. Jordan continues. "We've been threatened. We've been questioned. We've been told to step back and let things settle." He looks up, gaze firm. "But we didn't settle, because injustice doesn't pause, so neither did we." A young student stands silently in the back, holding a sign that reads, "We saw, we spoke, we're still here." Camille photographs it without a word. Jordan finishes. "Some people ask what changed. Not enough, but something. And that something is what makes the next step possible." The room stands with him. No ovation, no chant, just presence. Afterward, in the hallway, the mayor approaches. "We've added 5 youth positions to the next oversight session," she says quietly, "and we're reviewing state policy next quarter." Jordan nods. Policy is paper. People keep it standing. Outside, the mural wall has one last addition. A small open book, freshly painted. Its pages ripple, as if caught in wind. And in the corner, "Legacy isn't made of stone. It's passed from hand to hand." Later that night, Jordan walks the city alone. No cameras, no followers. Just streetlights and distant footsteps. He stops at Train 4's platform, the same one where it all began. The doors open. He steps in, stands again. No music, no hoodie. He looks ahead. This time, when the train rolls forward, no one stares. And that's the point, because dignity isn't a performance, it's a right. And when a community holds its truth long enough, that truth becomes a foundation, and foundations don't fade. They hold.